Here I started this new milestone by creating a blank blueprint property, which, as you can see, is blank. It doesn't have any start starter content, so I'm free to just do whatever I want with this. Now, of course, the big point of this project, or at least this milestone, is to eventually set up a repository here on GitHub, which, as you can see, I've already done right here. If if we go to repositories, here's the repository right here. Everything's all set up. This, of course, was quite a big issue with me because this is all stuff I haven't dealt with before. But as you can see, I've set up my folder. I've set up inside. Here's the Git folder. Here's the Git ignore. Which I copied and pasted from this website as the instructions told me. And then the real issue was setting up the Git bash, which, if we go back to this folder, I did by show more options, opening Git bash. And one more thing, I created this Git ignore by setting up a text document and copying and pasting the stuff from that website, and then saving it not as a text file but part of all files. And also right there you can see my project. But upon setting up the Git bash, this was quite a conundrum. So first I had to set up a Git initialize. And oh, and one more thing before we even get to that about my Git file. I made sure to go to options, view. I made sure to disable hide extensions for known files and show hidden files. Otherwise, this would not appear on the Windows file or the Windows tab. Yeah, this is I was struggling a bit with this because I set up the repository and I wasn't sure how what all the text was that popped up. All I know is I had to start by initializing a Git. And then I had to add this configure global add safe directory and include my project, and that's what turned me into the master, which is what I had to do. Otherwise, I'd be dealing with all these notifications of dubious ownership. Once I set up the master status for my project name, that's when it started to come together, and then I could check git status, then install my LSF, my large folders, track the UMAP, track UAsset, and that's when you see the Git attributes, the Git ignores, and my project itself. And then git add dot. Now I did this because it means that I can then add all of these as opposed to having to add them one at a time, which just saves a lot of space and headache. Which you can see worked right here. I now have new files here. Now here I tried to set up the initial comment. It didn't know exactly what I was, so I had to include my email address, which is linked here on GitHub. Then I had to add the remote git remote add origins of this, which little heads up, if you try to set up a new repository, this will pop up, and you want to copy and paste the last two lines here. Now I used HTTPS, although it is possible that you could use SSH, but that's what I used. Now this was a bit confusing. The instructions that I got told me that I could just do this last line, but instead of main, pick master, but that didn't work. And then eventually first comment here, git branch, and then basically I had to restart here. Now my problem here was I was a bit confused on how to set up a GitHub, but then eventually a window popped up asking for my password that's associated with GitHub, and that looks like it now works here. And when I was setting up the git through git bash, what happens is my repository page would look like this, but upon refreshing, it would then look like this, where I now have my configures, my git attributes, my git ignore, and the project here, as well as a readme, which I added. I also made sure to set up collaborations with my instructor here, so he now has the option to come into my repository and give his feedback.